Hey there, guys! We're having a bit of an interesting look here today at the top commanders of the past week, and we're going to do a deck tech right here, right now, on one of these commanders. I'm just going to pick one that we haven't done already, and that is from the recent set that is one of the top commanders that we'll build around for today. But just before we get into the video for today, if you are enjoying the content that I'm putting out there, please do consider subscribing, turning on that notifications. It really helps us out. But with that being said, let's get right on into the video for today. Henzie. We did a deck on this, or a deck upgrade of this. But I was saying that more from the perspective of a specifically, let's look at that commander and figure out what we could do with it. But now we actually have some data on EDHREC to actually look at and go through and see what we can see. I honestly did look at this deck list a little while ago, as well. Because I was thinking about building another deck myself, but again, it's always one of those things about building decks is very tough, I find, sometimes. And it is very tough sometimes. But I do think that there's some stuff here that we could build with. So let's try to figure out a list to build with, and start somewhere. Because that's the point. We can't really build a deck until we have a list. Oh boy, this is a list and a half of some cards. Certainly, I'm not really going to touch the lands too much, I would say, because even if there's some stuff here that I'm not going to agree with too much, it's fine. If you have not the budget to get all the duels that you need and you want to run some slower lands, that's up to you. It's a budget-ish thing that some people will do and whatnot, and some people will go, well, they're just fine anyway because they're there and they're in my colors and they do a decent enough job. But if you were optimizing, I would say to take some of them out. But this isn't about optimizing as much as this is more about synergy and things like that. So that's where we're at with this. So let's get into some synergy stuff. Now, we're going to take out all these, cultivates, Kadama's Reach, Farseeks, things like that, because we want these on creatures as much as possible. We're going to take all these things out because, again, we want them on creatures as much as possible, even if it takes more mana to do so. Again, we don't need these. We don't need these. We could do better than Bestiary. Oops. Wasn't actually meant to do that, but whatever. This. This. Yeah, we can replace this pretty easily. Whenever we sack a creature, card, less mana value. Oh, that's fine. Ish. At the beginning of end step, sack a creature. Yeah, that's fine. Very good. Evolution leave. We're not going to sacrifice too many things on our opponent's turns, so I would say this can go. Though we can sacrifice things on our opponent's turns, we're just not going to very much. Don't love the charms. Is Malakir Rebirth worth it? I don't know. I don't think Chaos Warp's worth it. We're in green. We can do other things. We don't need this. Do we really need this? We're low on lands, actually. So maybe we will tweak the lands just slightly. I'm not sure. Life's Legacy can actually go as well. Saves one thing once. I will say no. I don't know about Windgrace's judgment. It's good, but now I forget what we actually took out that I didn't actually technically want to take out, but still, I would say that it's probably fine. So where are we at right now? We're at 82. That's not too bad. And most of that is pretty high in our list of stuff. So I'm going to keep Solemn for now, though. I think Solemn's just fine for this purposes of what we're doing. But as I say, there are other upgrades that we could make. As I said, I'm not agreeing with some of these cards because I don't see the point in what they're really doing. Some of them are very clear about what they're doing, and others is like, well, this does not make sense. Um, so I think that's probably about it. I think this list is pretty decent for the most part with what we've got. Not everything's a home run or whatever, but when we have certain things going, it's worth our time to do them, certainly. So, as I said, we're probably not too far down. We're at 80, so we only need 20 something cards, which isn't too hard. Now, as I sort of said, we do want things that are based on creatures for the most part so that we can get the most value out of sacrificing them or them dying or whatnot. We do want some enchantments, I will say, for uh, extra support. We do want some artifacts as well. Actually, I will take Blasphemous Act out and just leave Living Death and whatnot for now as well, because again, we want to keep the things that aren't creatures to the lowest number that we can. Now, we are cheating some mana cost, but I'm still uncomfortable with the number of lands that are in the deck. So I would say, like, looking at how like the list is presented, I will just add a mountain and add a swamp. That is pretty. That's pretty fine, I think, at that point. So that's not very much tweaking there needing to be done. So now we're at 81, so we need 19 cards. So let's go ahead and find some cards, or let me find some cards that I think I think maybe we could fit in. All right, so after some digging, we're at 100 cards, which is good. So we've done it. I think we've made this list a lot better to what I think we need to do, which is play lots of creatures um, and and play those creatures so that we can get advantages off of death triggers, enter this triggers, whatnot, etc. Get some ramp that is on creatures as well, even if it's not 4 mana or higher. Um, the body will still be more relevant overall to us, and more consistent things. Even so, saying like Tires for Visioner might not stick around doesn't really matter that much. You could put in some other cards and whatnot as well. This isn't a perfect list by far, but I do think that like cards like Shriekmaw is quite funny, especially with the ability to evoke it. I believe that we can still evoke it, and its cost is reduced with that evoke cost, so it is a 1 mana, Doomblade essentially. Shieldred, we just want to keep getting our things back as well. So I added that, and it also makes our opponent sack and makes their opponent sad. So that's really powerful. I added Perfrost as well because I felt like Perfrost is perfect for this deck. It is a bit pricey, as I sort of say. I don't really do these all on budget lists or whatnot. I just go, what is good? What can we put in? And things like that. So if you can't afford him, obviously don't worry too much. Poison Tip Archer. It's funny that this is a $2 uncommon or whatnot, but it does do a lot of work. And again, we want to do as much damage or make as much our opponents lose as much life as what we can. We also want to make as many useless things that we can easily sacrifice out of the things that we're like having die anyway. So Pawn of Ulamog is quite good. Old Nullbone will hit and will make a heck of a lot of mana for us. Again, I'm not on a budget here for just a list in theory. So yeah, I'm not too sure about Mycolith because again, it won't stick around for the most part and whatnot, but we could again devour some things that are going to be sacrificed anyway and get more value out of it. So I do think that it can have some place in this deck somewhere. Mezio basically does the same thing as Atali does. Yes, it's only a 3/3, but we only really care about that attack trigger. We don't really care if this thing dies because it's probably going to die anyway. And if it dies, we get cards out of it as well. So it's still fine. We just need it for that attack trigger and things like that. So that is fine. We do not really care that it might die in combat. It's still fine because that is, what our deck is built to do. It is built to take advantage of things dying, entering, being cheated in, etc. Drawing cards and things like that. Now, we could find some other card draw other than Harvester of Souls. I think it's 6 mana, but if we blitz it out, it is a 5 mana, 5/5 Death Touch haste. So that is pretty darn good when you consider that with some of the other cards that we could play. So that's why I decided landing up on it. As well, I decided to take out the Inferno Titan that was in this deck and put Grave Titan in instead after a little bit of deliberation as well, because it leaves behind bodies at least, and it will be reduced in cost from that blitz, and we'll have haste, so it can attack immediately, getting those even more bodies out there so we can sacrifice those bodies for other things, which can be really useful and whatnot. So that is... most of what I added, I think I added some other cards here and there, but most of it, like Beast Whisperer, just generic cards that I think are pretty darn good, and I didn't really do much else to the list after that, so that's you all caught up with what's in this deck. Now, yes, again, there's some cards that maybe here and there could be better again, but I still think it's a pretty decent list, and you guys can go through it and see what you think, and let me know what you think about this list. And we'll keep going and keep doing some of these more interesting things. Hopefully, if you guys enjoy it, I hope you guys do. You can let me know what you think about the deck. Suggest more commanders for me to do. I just went through a list of the top commanders from the set and from the last week, whatever, to see what's sort of trending, what people really like, what people don't like. So I thought that this might be pretty interesting, pretty popular, hopefully. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down there in the comments below. I'll be sure to try to respond to all the comments. Really love interacting with you guys, talking about EDH, the geeky things that we love. So yeah, I'll see you down there in those comments below. I'll see you in the next one.